Let's now bring in our first guest today, Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez. Sir, Ambassador, magandang hapon po and welcome back to Storycon.
Hi. Hey, thank you. Good
Hi,
afternoon.
Ambassador.
Good afternoon,
Hi,
Ambassador.
hello, Ami.
Thank
Hi,
you for
good
joining us.
afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, sir. There's four of us here.
You want to
There's
start with
Ed, Ronald,
Okay.
Ami, and Regina.
You want to start
Si,
with
ano, si
the
Helena
board of peace or
nandito,
the
Helena.
mineral deals?
Board of Peace, go.
Okay.
Sir, what do we know already about this offer of the Board of Peace membership coming from the U.S. government, and how likely are we to accept it?
Well, actually, there was a personal letter written by President Trump to President Marcos, which I just delivered a couple of days ago to the President Marcos. And so we're going to study it and what kind of commitment that will require from us before we make a decision. But because there was, in fact, the letter was very clear that President Trump really wanted President Marcos to be part of this board of So, yes, go ahead.
Siguro, Ambassador, dinawin muna natin what's the Peace Board.
Well, the Peace Board is supposed to be the vision of President Trump, that it will be the one that will reconstruct of the Gaza Strip to like a peace zone that will be developed, that will give jobs to the people that live in the Gaza area, and make that the buffer for make sure that it remains to be an area that will be peaceful and prosperous. So he's invited several countries, and the Philippines is one of them.
But sir, what will it require from us in particular? And I also suppose it also puts us in a bit of a bind kasi we still haven't rebuilt Marawi the way we want it to be reconstructed.
Well, no, I mean this is a totally different. Being a member of the Board of Peace doesn't really mean that you're going to put in anything. To be a permanent member, I am told you have to put up $1 billion to be a permanent member. That is the vision of President Trump. But obviously, we can't afford to do that. So it's more of what kind of human resources that we already have right now in the Middle East right now. Like maybe perhaps some of the workers that we have there, construction workers maybe, or perhaps even nurses that could help in part of the reconstruction and to make the area to be what is envisioned by the President Trump.
But, Ambassador, is it clear at this point that they're willing to waive the $1 billion entry fee? I mean, it sounds like...
No, it's not an entry fee. It is actually voluntary. If you want to be a permanent member, it's actually a $1 billion investment. But obviously, we've made it clear that we afford to be giving that kind of money at this point in time. So, but the invitation is very clear. It's just to be a member of the Board of Peace of the Gaza Strip.
So we can be a member, but not a permanent member, because to be a permanent member, you'd need to put in $1 billion. And
Yes.
we
Yeah,
can't
that's
afford that.
the plan.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just a regular membership. But I guess
That's correct.
you haven't hashed out exactly what we can contribute. And do I take it to mean that we are leaning towards accepting the invitation?
Well, right now, I think our Department of Foreign Affairs is obviously seeing what are the ramifications. Obviously, in terms of our membership in other institutions like the United Nations and what it would entail, and whether all of these things are being studied by many, including our National Security Office. So what it would be, what it would entail from us. No? But definitely on the financial part, we will not be able to include that as part of being a member of the Board of Peace.
Ambassador, on another topic, no? Kasi I'm looking at Donald
let's talk
Trump.
about Board of
We're
Peace,
hosting the ASEAN Summit and meetings this year. And normally, meron yung meeting between ASEAN and the US, no? Would you know if Donald Trump might be coming to Manila later this year for the ASEAN meetings?
Oh, well, definitely we are hoping that he will. But if you remember when the President Marcos went to the White House last July,
Yes.
that's one of
Yeah.
the things that we mentioned to President Trump. Informally, of course,
Yes.
we said, I hope that we're inviting you to attend the ASEAN Summit. And he says, when is that going to be? And we said something like
Yes.
October, November. And he said, I'll be there. Now, of course, we're holding off to that one. But again, depending on the schedule and also the fact that there's
Yeah.
going to be midterm elections in the United States this year,
Yes.
hopefully the schedule will allow President Trump to come to Asia and attend. But he did say, I would like very much to attend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ambassador, on a different note, you were able to observe na maraming mga naging, ang tawag nyo ay megaphone diplomacy nitong nakaraang mga linggo between some of our leaders and the Chinese embassy here. No? At sabi nyo nga, doon sa inyong column last Sunday, na diplomacy is a long game. It is not domestic politics. Ang isang problema, Ambassador, is that they're not easily separated. No? Lalo na sa Philippine context, na clear naman yung sinusuportahan ng China is another political project, another political dynasty. So kaya na-exacerbate itong dynamics na ito exactly because of domestic politics. So how do we navigate that terrain? Na yes, diplomacy is the long game, geopolitics is a long game, but at the same time ay may impact siya sa domestic politics na sa ngayon ay existential yung battle. No? So yung call nyo for restraint has to be taken within this context. Paano, maganda yung column nyo it's about restraint. Pero sa ngayon, ginagamit yan nung other side na ini-invoke yung inyong call for restraint as parang pagkastigo dun sa mga sumasagot sa mga atake ng Chinese embassy.
Well, basically, first and foremost, the current ambassador here, I happened to know him because he came from Washington, D.C. He was the deputy chief of mission in Washington, D.C. And he, at that time, before he was appointed to be the ambassador here in Manila, he already had mentioned that one of the things that he wanted to look at once he took his post here in Manila was to precisely find ways and means to be able to bring down the tension in the West Philippine Sea. And there's been an indication not only from the current ambassador now, but from Beijing itself, that they would like to see a path forward. While our claims will never go in the same way, we have our claims and China has their claims, but we have to find a way to bring down that tension. And based on that one, I think it's probably a good time for us to look at opportunities to be able to reach out and see how we can bring down that. Like I said, we will never give up our sovereignty and whatever our territorial rights are, but at the same time, we still have to find a way to be able to work on this on the diplomatic level. And there is an opportunity to do so. Aside from the fact that the economic part of our relationship with China is also a key factor in this whole thing. And again, bringing the relationship with the United States, President Trump himself told President Marcos during the meeting at the Oval Office, he said, I don't mind if you make a deal with China. So all this is all at the end of the day, whatever is good for our national interest is what we're looking at. And one last point is that we're hosting the ASEAN Summit here. And one of our aspirations and one of the things that we are hoping that we will be able to achieve is the code of conduct. It's been around. We've been talking about this for more than 2 decades now. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to be able to do something, especially considering the new relationships that we've had with not only with the U.S., with the change of leadership there, and with other countries as well. So it might be an opportunity for us to finally get that code of conduct nailed down. We don't know, but it's a possibility. And so diplomacy is the only way we can solve that.
Yes, that's true, Ambassador. But do you think China is willing to backpedal their framework of wolf diplomacy? because the very nature of their world diplomacy is very aggressive. And it takes two to tango in diplomacy. If one side is willing to have some level of restraint and the other is more aggressive, then it's not that mutual.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, if one continues to do what they're doing, but what we're hearing is that they're prepared now to sit down and talk about ways and means to be able to cooperate in some other way and bringing down that tension. Now, what is it for us to say, yes, we are willing to do so? But if they don't come out with what they're saying they want to do, then at least we tried, or at least we accepted their words for it.
Right.
Bottom line really is what is going to be best to bring this situation to a level that would make it viable for us to continue to do what is best for our interests, especially on the economic front. This is really where the bottom line. Vietnam, I hate to compare ourselves to Vietnam, but Vietnam's been very successful in this one. They've had a lot of economic activity between Vietnam and China, and yet they have the same problem as we do when it comes to territorial claims.
Ambassador, just very quickly, one last question before we let you go. The U.S. announced that it signed a critical minerals deal with the Philippines, although we haven't gotten details of this yet from the DENR. What does this cover exactly?
Well, essentially, it's a memorandum of understanding that the critical minerals here in the Philippines will be developed, and that the U.S. is prepared to help us in developing our critical minerals industry and be able to, obviously, at the end of the day, the supply chain. This is obviously also in relation to what China has right now. As you know, critical minerals is one of the main sticky points between the U.S. and China right now. And the United States has been reaching out to countries like ours and other countries in Asia. And obviously, we're prepared to make a deal, as in the words of President Trump. And that's very important for us to be able to export our critical minerals instead of just having one market.
So the U.S. is going to help finance the development of critical minerals in the Philippines. Specifically,
that is part, yes. That's
specifically,
part of the plan, yes.
what minerals are we looking at specifically?
Well, the production of, like nickel, for instance, we hardly have any processing for nickel here in the Philippines. We sell our nickel raw nickel to China, and all of this 90% goes to China because we don't have any processing here. That's one area where we can possibly have assistance coming from the United States with this critical minerals memorandum of agreement. So, and other areas where like copper and other part of our mining industry that can be developed more quickly with the potential of having this agreement.
And is there a dollar figure that the U.S. has committed for this deal? Do we have a figure?
Well, that one. No, we don't have a figure on that one. It can go obviously in the billions because production processing is a very expensive operation. That's the reason why we've never really had that. So with this kind of deal, it's probably going to expedite this.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave that there. We've run out of time, but thanks so much for talking to us today. That was Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Manuel Romualdez. Thanks, Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador.